All right, let's keep going through the review, solving quadratics. Number 32, we're going to complete the square. And then 34 and 36, we will use the quadratic formula. So, again, completing the square, that's the problem where I'll kind of project the perfect trinomial list, because we have a value that we're going to add to both sides. That value is, we take half of b and square it. Here's our b term. Half of b is, in this case, 5. And 5 squared is 25. Or I'll just have the list projected, and you can see that the value that we add is 25. And the reason I project this is the next step. Convert this to a binomial squared. Most students kind of struggle with that, but it'll be on that list. X squared plus 10x plus 25 is the same as x plus 5 squared. Negative 9 plus 25 is positive 16. And now we have a solve using the square root method problem. I have my squared piece equals 16. So I take the square root of both sides, plus and minus over here. So x plus 5 is by itself. It equals plus and minus, and then the square root of 16 is 4. So make your two little equations. X plus 5 equals positive 4. X plus 5 equals negative 4. And then get x by itself. Subtract 5 from both sides to get negative 1. Subtract 5 from both sides to get negative 9. You can box them or put them together in a solution set. And then we get into the quadratic formula, which I don't mind writing on the board during a test, but it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And then all of this is divided by, 2a. So my a value is 2 because we're set equal to 0. We're in descending order. C is our constant of negative 7. So the formula is negative b. B is already negative. Some of you know to just make it a positive 13, but it's negative from the formula, and then the negative from our negative 13, plus or minus the square root of. Always put your negatives in parentheses if you're squaring them. So negative 13 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 7. All of this divided by 2a, so 2 times 2 in this case. I always tell students, if you're doing this by hand, take the radical off to the side, because that's where most of the math is happening. Negative 13 squared is positive 169. So it's always going to be a positive number, plus or minus, and then you multiply these three together. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 7 is 56. We have a negative times a negative, so it makes a positive 56. Again, it should always be a positive number because a negative squared is positive. Plus or minus, if there's two negatives, it's a plus. If you see 1 or 3 negatives, it becomes a minus. And then 169 plus 56 is 225. And the square root of 225 is 15. That is a perfect square. So there's no radical anymore. If the radical goes away entirely, that means we could have factored this a times c, factors of negative 14 that become negative 13, 14 and 1. But we use the formula. So again, all of this, the radical just became 15. Negative 13 is positive 13. And this is being divided by 4. So if you're solving a quadratic and the radical goes away entirely, that means it was factorable, and you'll end up with part of the problem that looks like this. If you get something like this, take it apart, because we have 13 plus 15 over 4, but then here's our minus. And this is how we will get the two answers, the plus or minus. 13 plus 15 divided by 4. 13 plus 15 is 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Over here, 13 minus 15 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 4, we can call that negative 1/2. So those are the solutions. So what if it's unfactorable, like number 36? Let's take a look. Here, A is 1, B is negative 4, C is 13. So negative 4, plus or minus the square root of B squared. Always put your negative in parentheses if you're squaring it. Minus 4 times A times C. All divided by 2A. So again, take our radical off to the side. Negative 4 squared is positive 16. I only see one minus sign. So 4 times 1 times 13. Again, multiply this string of numbers here. So that becomes 52. So we have 16 minus 52. It'll be a minus if it's 1 or all 3 terms are negative. 16 minus 52 is negative 36. So the square root of negative 36, that is the same as I times root 36, which is 6I. So we fill this in, and we have negative 4, so positive 4, plus or minus 6I over 2. You might be tempted to combine this into 10I, but of course we cannot. We have two answers. We have 4 plus 6I divided by 2, and we have 4 minus 6I divided by 2. And we can simplify. We can divide 4 by 2 and 6 by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, plus 6I divided by 2 is 3I. Do the same thing over here. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Negative 6I divided by 2 is negative 3I. So that's how we would work out number 36. So all we have left in the review are the word problems, and we'll do that next.